Tehran in the 1980s was a city of contrasts. On one hand, it was alive with the hustle and bustle typical of any major metropolis. Markets buzzed with activity, children played in the streets, and life went on. On the other, it bore the scars of recent upheavals, a revolution that had reshaped its very foundations, followed by the outbreak of a war that seemed to have no end. Buildings pockmarked with bullet holes and the wail of air raid sirens became as much a part of the city soundscape as the calls to prayer echoing from minarets. In the midst of this turmoil lived Shida and her young daughter, Dorsa. They resided in a modest, somewhat aged apartment building that had seen better days, much like the city itself. The war had taken its toll on Shida, transforming her from a hopeful student with dreams of becoming a doctor to a weary mother, trying her best to provide a semblance of normalcy for her daughter. Dorsa, with her curious eyes and untamed imagination, was too young to fully grasp the complexities of the world around her. Yet, she felt the tension in her mother's voice, the subtle changes in her demeanor, and the way she would often stare out the window with a look that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Their life was a routine of survival, navigating the uncertainties of a city caught between the echoes of revolution and the thunder of a distant yet ever-present war. But as the conflict dragged on, a new, inexplicable fear began to take hold, one that couldn't be easily explained away by the sound of artillery or the sight of soldiers patrolling the streets. It was a creeping dread that seemed to emanate from the very walls of their home, an unspoken terror that lurked in the shadows, unseen but deeply felt. This is the story of Shida and Dorsa, a tale of resilience in the face of unimaginable horrors. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit when confronted with the darkest of fears, not the specters of folklore or the monsters of fairy tales, but the real, visceral terror that comes from living through times of war and uncertainty. In their journey, they would come to realize that the true battleground was not just the war-torn streets of Tehran, but the haunted corridors of their own home, where the echoes of a fractured past threatened to overshadow their hopes for the future. Thus begins Echoes in the Ruins, a story of survival, of the unseen battles fought in the silence of the heart, and of the light that can emerge from the deepest of darknesses. In a small, dimly lit kitchen, the day begins before sunrise. Shida, with lines of fatigue etched into her face more deeply with each passing day, moves quietly so as not to wake her sleeping daughter. Each morning ritual, from boiling water for tea to the soft clinking of utensils, is performed with a mechanical precision born out of necessity. The scarcity of resources has taught her to make do with what little they have, rationing food and water with a discipline that the war imposed upon them. Dorsa, nestled in a bundle of worn blankets, stirs as the faint sounds of the city awakening penetrate the thin walls of their apartment. Her world, though confined by the reality outside, is vast in imagination. Yet, even her play is shadowed by the war dolls dressed in makeshift uniforms, stories of adventure that inevitably echo the tales of escape and survival. She overhears her mother whispering into the phone. The rhythm of their days is punctuated by the distant, and sometimes not so distant, boom of explosions, a constant reminder that safety is but an illusion. Shida has mastered the art of masking her fear, her quick glances towards the window, hiding a constant vigilance. The route to Dorsa's school is memorized, not just the path but every alleyway, every hiding spot, just in case they need to seek shelter during a sudden air raid. Electricity is sporadic, plunging their evenings into darkness without warning. Shida uses these moments to teach Dorsa about the stars, about constellations that warriors of old navigated by. It's a clever distraction, a way to keep her daughter's mind from the sounds of warplanes tearing through the night sky. Their apartment, once filled with the laughter of friends and family, now hosts whispered conversations and hushed tones. Neighbors are now shadows that pass in the hallway, each carrying their own burdens, their own sorrows. The community spirit that once thrived has been eroded by suspicion and fear, leaving behind a palpable sense of isolation. Yet, within this constrained existence, Shida and Dorsa find moments of profound connection. Bedtime stories are no longer just tales from books, but shared dreams of a world beyond the war, of places they wish to see, and things they hope to do once the madness outside their door comes to an end. This daily life, a delicate balance between fear and hope, between the reality of war and the resilience of the human spirit, sets the stage for their journey. In the shadow of conflict, amidst the echoes of destruction, the bond between mother and daughter becomes an unbreakable force, a beacon of light guiding them through the darkest of times. One crisp morning, as the city held its breath between the silence of curfew and the stir of daybreak, a knock at the door fractured the routine of Shida and Dorsa's life. It was a cautious tap, hesitant yet urgent, a sound that in these times could mean anything from a friendly visit to a harbinger of bad news. Shida approached the door with a mix of curiosity and dread, her hand resting lightly on the knob, as if it were a question she wasn't sure she wanted answered. On the threshold stood Mrs. Fathy, a neighbor from 2 floors down, her face drawn tight with concern. The corridors of their building often carried the murmur of voices, the laughter of children playing, and the occasional argument, but now they seemed to hold their breath, amplifying the significance of this early visit. Mrs. Fathy, normally a woman of many words, seemed to struggle to find the right ones. "There's talk," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "of something not right happening in our area. Not the usual thieves or looters we're warned about. Something more sinister." Her eyes darted around, as if the walls themselves might be listening. Shida felt a chill that had little to do with the morning air. "What kind of talk?" she pressed, her mind racing through a catalog of possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. "People are saying it might be a spy, or worse, a saboteur. Someone who blends in during the day and does God knows what at night. Things disappearing, strange marks on doors, and I've heard," Mrs. Fathy's voice dropped even lower, "that some have seen shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. Not just shadows from the street lamps, but as if something or someone is lurking around." The news struck Shida with the force of a physical blow. In a city where danger was already a constant companion, the thought of an invisible threat, one that could be weaving its way through their lives unnoticed, was terrifying. She thanked Mrs. Fathy, promising to be vigilant, her mind racing through scenarios she had hoped never to consider. After closing the door, Shida stood motionless, the seed of paranoia planted by Mrs. Fathy's visit beginning to take root. How could she protect Dorsa from a danger that was as elusive as a shadow? The war had taught her to be wary of the skies and the streets, but now, it seemed, the threat could be much closer, perhaps even just a floor away. The incident marked a turning point for Shida and Dorsa. The semblance of normalcy they had clung to was shattered, replaced by a heightened awareness that every creak and whisper of their aging apartment building could be harboring a secret, every stranger's face a mask hiding malevolent intent. Their home, once a sanctuary amidst chaos, now felt exposed, vulnerable to the unseen forces that seemed to be closing in on them from all sides. In the wake of Mrs. Fathy's unsettling visit, a tangible shift occurred within the walls of Shida and Dorsa's apartment. Skepticism wrestled with caution in Shida's mind, the former a luxury she realized they could ill afford. Her skepticism didn't diminish the reality of their situation, if anything, it underscored the necessity for vigilance. The potential of an unseen menace, whether a figment of collective anxiety or a genuine threat, catalyzed Shida into action. First, she revisited every lock, every window latch, and every entry point into their small sanctuary. The locks were old, as was much in the building, yet Shida did what she could, reinforcing them with makeshift barriers, and creating a ritual of checks and double checks each night before they slept. It was a physical manifestation of her determination to shield Dorsa from the world's encroaching darkness. Next, she turned her attention to Dorsa, who watched her mother's transformation with wide-eyed curiosity. Shida knelt before her, explaining the importance of their new routines in simple terms, designed not to frighten but to empower. "We're playing a game," she told Dorsa, "a very important game where we make sure our home is safe and secure. Just like in your stories, where the heroes make sure no one can sneak into their castle." Together, they practiced what to do if Shida wasn't home, and Dorsa heard someone trying to enter. They discussed secret codes and signals, ways to communicate that would be their secret alone. Shida introduced Dorsa to a small, hidden nook in the apartment, a place where Dorsa could hide if the need ever arose, making it into an adventure, rather than a precaution born from fear. Moreover, Shida instilled in Dorsa the importance of awareness, of being observant without being overtaken by fear. "Always know who's around you, remember faces and places," Shida instructed, her voice a steady beacon in the tumult of their reality. They practiced recognizing sounds, discerning the ordinary from the out of place, turning their heightened senses into a game that Dorsa embraced with the zeal of the young and imaginative. This period marked a metamorphosis for both Shida and Dorsa, a recalibration of their lives within the framework of their new, unwelcome reality. They became more than just mother and daughter, they were allies in a silent struggle, fortified by love and a fierce determination to protect their sliver of peace in a world that seemed increasingly determined to take it from them. Their home, once a simple living space, transformed into a bastion against unseen threats. Every action, every routine, was imbued with the weight of their shared resolve. They found strength in their unity, a strength that would soon be tested in ways neither could have anticipated. As days melded into nights and the routines of safety checks became second nature, an undercurrent of unease began to thread through the fabric of Shida and Dorsa's lives. This unease was not born of the tangible, the explainable, or the seen. It was the unseen, the barely felt, that nudged their reality into the realm of the unsettling. Objects, mundane and without value beyond their utility, began to assert their presence in ways that defied logic. A cup, placed firmly in the center of a table, would find its way to the edge, teetering precariously as if coaxed by an invisible hand. Photographs, those frozen moments of happier times, would shift against the walls, angles altered as though attempting to escape their frames. Then, there was the cold. A chill that seeped into their bones, unfazed by the warmth of their modest heater, an inexplicable drop in temperature that would sweep through their apartment like an uninvited gust. It was a coldness that felt almost alive, a creeping frost that lingered in the corners of rooms, watching, waiting. Shadows, too, played their part in this slow crescendo of dread. They flitted at the edges of Shida's vision, darting away when she turned to confront them head-on. These were not the benign shadows cast by objects and bodies, these were thicker, somehow denser, as if imbued with substance. They moved with a purpose, a sinister choreography that danced just beyond the light's reach. Shida, ever the pragmatist, sought explanations grounded in reality. The objects? Surely a result of vibrations from the incessant bombings, she reasoned. The cold? Perhaps a fault in the building's aging structure, allowing drafts to wander unchecked. And the shadows? Tricks of the light, nothing more, her mind's attempt to find danger where there was none. Yet, these rationalizations brought little comfort. The occurrences persisted, growing in frequency and boldness, each incident chipping away at the facade of normalcy she fought so hard to maintain. Discussions with neighbors revealed little, their own fears and preoccupations left no room for the concerns of others. Shida found herself caught between the implacable reality of the war outside and the creeping, inexplicable phenomena within her own home. Each strange event, each unexplained anomaly, added layers to their daily existence, transforming their sanctuary into a stage for unsettling acts. In her heart, Shida clung to the belief that there must be a logical explanation for it all, a way to demystify the occurrences that seemed to target their home with precision. Yet, as she tucked Orsa into bed each night, the question lingered in the silence. What if the war had brought with it specters not of flesh and blood, but of something beyond their understanding? The thought was quickly dismissed, banished to the recesses of her mind, yet it left a seed of doubt that, once planted, refused to be ignored. The unsettling undercurrent that had been slowly infiltrating Shida and Dorsa's lives reached a harrowing crescendo, morphing the inexplicable into the deeply personal. It was as if the very essence of their sanctuary sought to unravel, targeting not just their sense of safety, but the threads of their hearts as well. One evening, as twilight bled into the deep blue of night, Shida was confronted with an intrusion so intimate it left her reeling. In the quietude of their living space, amidst a fortress of safety measures they had constructed, lay her husband's watch. Not placed on the bedside table where she kept it, a memento of his presence, but on the kitchen counter, starkly out of place amidst the day's clutter. This was no ordinary watch, it was the one he had worn the day he was deployed, the one he had jokingly claimed was indestructible. The shock of seeing it there, so blatantly displayed, sent a shiver through her. There had been no visitors, no breach in their meticulously maintained security. The windows remained sealed, the doors locked, the nook where Dorsa sometimes hid undisturbed. Yet here it was, a silent scream in the stillness. This was not an isolated incident. In the days that followed, more of his belongings began to emerge in places they had no right to be. A book he favored, marked by a photograph of the three of them, appeared on the living room sofa, its pages fluttering as though just disturbed. His uniform, carefully preserved in the back of their closet, was found draped over a chair, as if discarded after a long day. Each occurrence pierced Shida's heart with fresh pain, a haunting reminder of his absence. It was as though the war, not content with claiming the streets and skies of Tehran, sought to invade the sacred spaces of her memory, of their shared life before the turmoil. Faced with these deeply personal manifestations, Shida's resolve to find logical explanations began to crumble. How could she rationalize the manipulation of objects so closely tied to her husband, to their past? It was a violation of her memories, a breach of the emotional barricades she had built around her heart. Desperation crept in, a companion to the fear and confusion that had taken up residence in their home. Shida struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy for Dorsa's sake, to shield her from the turmoil that these incidents stirred within. Yet, she could not deny the toll it was taking, the sense of being watched, of being targeted by an unseen force with intimate knowledge of their lives. As the line between the tangible and the inexplicable blurred, Shida found herself at a crossroads. The need to protect Dorsa, to preserve the vestiges of their family's unity, became her beacon. It propelled her towards a confrontation with the unseen, a determination to reclaim their home from the shadows that sought to claim it. This resolve marked the beginning of a journey into the unknown, a quest to unearth the truth buried beneath layers of fear and the unspoken. As the boundary between the known and the inexplicable continued to blur, a new unsettling chapter unfolded within the confines of their increasingly claustrophobic home. It was Dorsa, with the unfiltered clarity of youth, who first voiced the chilling observation that would escalate their ordeal to new heights of anxiety and fear. One evening, as Shida was tucking her into bed, Dorsa's voice, small yet earnest, pierced the routine. "Mommy, the shadow man watches us." Her words, simple and direct, carried the weight of undeniable truth, a child's observation untainted by the skepticism of adulthood. Shida's heart seized at the statement, a myriad of questions flooding her mind. "Shadow man," she echoed, trying to keep her voice steady, to not let the tremor of her growing dread seep through. Dorsa nodded, her eyes wide and serious. "He stands there," she pointed towards the corner of her room, "and watches. He doesn't say anything. He's always here when it gets dark." The revelation struck a dissonant chord in Shida's already frayed nerves. The notion of being observed, of an unseen presence lingering just beyond the veil of perception, tapped into a primal fear. It wasn't just the inexplicable disturbances anymore, it was the visceral terror of an intruder unseen, unknown, yet deeply felt. This admission from Dorsa amplified Shida's fears exponentially, morphing her concern into a pervasive paranoia. Every shadow cast within their home became a potential hiding spot for this shadow man, every creak and whisper of the building's aged structure, a possible footstep. The idea that they might be targeted, watched by either a spectral entity or, perhaps more terrifyingly, an enemy in disguise, consumed her thoughts. The internal conflict waged within Shida was one of logic against instinct, of a mother's desire to protect her child against the onslaught of an undefined threat. She grappled with the implications of Dorsa's claims, torn between dismissing them as the overactive imagination of a child and accepting the possibility that their experiences were not just random occurrences, but targeted actions by an unseen foe. This escalation of fear, the transition from disquiet to a tangible threat within their own walls, forced Shida into a state of heightened vigilance. Every decision, every action was now filtered through a lens of suspicion and the desperate need for safety. Yet, in the back of her mind, a whisper persisted, questioning the nature of the danger they faced. Was it the product of human malice, a spy or saboteur as they had feared, or something far more elusive and inexplicable? Caught in this tumult of fear and uncertainty, Shida found herself driven by a mother's unyielding resolve to safeguard her daughter. Shida embarked on a quest for clarity amidst the murkiness that had enveloped their lives. Her initial step was to reach out to the world just beyond their doorstep, a realm she had, until now, navigated with caution. The neighbors, with whom interactions had been brief and burdened by the heavy air of shared adversity, suddenly became potential keys to understanding the enigma of their plight. With Dorsa's revelation of the shadow man heavy on her heart, Shida ventured into conversations with those living adjacent and above, her inquiries gentle yet tinged with an urgency that mirrored the pace of her racing thoughts. It was during these exchanges that a tapestry of communal fear and mystification began to unfold, revealing that her family was not alone in their experiences. One neighbor, a weary-eyed father of two, recounted how his children spoke of figures lurking at the edge of their vision, disappearing when confronted. Another, an elderly widow, whispered of voices murmuring in the night, conversations in a cadence of loss and longing, threads of sound woven from the fabric of silence. The stories varied in detail, but shared a common thread, a sensation of being observed, of presences felt rather than seen, of the air charged with the electricity of unseen gazes. With each account, the weight of isolation lifted slightly, replaced by the burgeoning realization that their experiences were part of a larger, more complex pattern. The notion of a shared hallucination surfaced in hushed tones, a theory whispered in the shadows of their conversations. Grief, they suggested, might be manifesting through the collective psyche of those touched by the war's relentless hand. The loss of loved ones, the relentless bombardment of their senses by violence and despair, could indeed birth phantoms from the depths of their mourning hearts. This revelation, while offering a semblance of explanation, did little to quell Shida's determination. If anything, it steeled her resolve. The potential psychological underpinnings of their experiences, the shared nature of their torment, suggested not a supernatural incursion, but a tangible, if elusive, enemy, one rooted in the very real traumas of their daily existence. Armed with this newfound insight, Shida returned to her home, her mind ablaze with the dual flames of concern and conviction. The knowledge that others bore witness to similar anomalies did not diminish her fear, but gave it context. It transformed her solitary struggle into a collective ordeal, a phenomenon intertwined with the fabric of their shared reality, shaped by the war's unyielding grasp. Yet, the question of the shadow man observed by Dorsa remained a mystery distinct in its specifics, demanding a deeper delve into the unknown. With the courage born of necessity, Shida prepared to confront this enigma head-on, to peel back the layers of shared hallucination and uncover the truth hidden within. Her investigation, initially a quest for validation and understanding, had morphed into a mission to dissect the shadows, to illuminate the corners of their lives darkened by fear and the unseen. In the quiet hours of an afternoon, when the sun cast long shadows across the war-torn landscape of Tehran, Shida's search for answers took a fortuitous turn. A discovery within her own home, a space she thought familiar, unveiled a chapter of history long silenced by layers of dust and neglect. Behind a false wall in the storage room, obscured by years of accumulated belongings, she found a door. It was an entrance to a hidden chamber, a room swallowed by the shadows of the building's past, untouched and unseen for years, perhaps decades. The air inside was thick with the weight of untold stories, a palpable sense of secrecy hanging amidst the stale air. This concealed space, large enough to hold a dozen people comfortably, was evidently used for gatherings, the nature of which spoke to a time of fervent whispers and clandestine meetings. The walls, once vibrant with the echo of impassioned voices, now stood silent, guardians of memories left behind. Within this hidden room, among the relics of its former occupants, Shida discovered items of a deeply personal nature. Photographs, worn at the edges, captured moments of laughter and camaraderie, faces alight with the fire of purpose and unity. Letters, penned with the careful hand of those who lived on the precipice of danger, lay scattered atop an old wooden table, their words a testament to the bonds forged in the crucible of shared struggle. It was amidst these remnants of a time gone by that Shida found the source of the disturbances that had so unsettled her and Dorsa. The objects moving without explanation, the unaccountable coldness, the shadows dancing just beyond the light hall, were echoes of the lives that once filled this hidden chamber. These were not hauntings in the traditional sense, but memories, imprints of intense emotion and experience, left upon the very fabric of the place. The revelation struck Shida with the force of a revelation. The phenomena they had experienced were manifestations of the collective trauma endured by those who had occupied this space before them. The war, with its pervasive shadow of fear and loss, had a way of resurrecting these dormant memories, giving form to the formless, voice to the voiceless. It was as if the trauma of the past sought communion with the present, bridging time through the medium of their shared space. This understanding brought with it a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief, for the knowledge that they were not besieged by malevolent forces, but by the lingering pain of historical wounds. Sorrow, for the recognition of the depth of suffering encoded within the walls of her home. The shadow man Dorsa spoke of could well be a vestige of this past, a figment born from the intense energies of former days of resistance and rebellion. With this revelation, Shida felt a shift within herself. The fear that had clung so tightly to her heart began to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of empathy for the lives that had intersected with theirs in such an unexpected way. She understood now that their experiences were not warnings or threats, but calls to remember, to acknowledge the past that pulsed beneath the surface of their daily lives. Determined to honor these memories, Shida made a choice. She would not seal the room back behind its false wall of obscurity. Instead, she decided to integrate this piece of history into their lives, to respect the echoes of the past as they navigated the uncertainties of the present. This hidden chamber, with its stories of resistance and resilience, would serve as a reminder of the strength that lay in unity, in the shared human experience of facing adversity with courage and hope. In embracing the revelations of the hidden room, Shida found not only solace, but also a deeper connection to the world around her, a bridge spanning the chasm between past and present, a beacon of light guiding them through the shadows of uncertainty towards a future where the echoes of trauma could find peace in the light of understanding. Amidst a crescendo of conflict that enveloped Tehran, a different kind of climax unfolded within the walls of Shida and Dorsa's home. The revelation of the hidden room and its haunting connection to the past had shifted the landscape of their fear, rerouting its source from the spectral to the painfully human. This transformation set the stage for a confrontation not with the phantoms of the night, but with the specters of reality, the war's pervasive, suffocating grip on the essence of their existence. As the conflict outside threatened to tear the very fabric of their world apart, mother and daughter found themselves standing at the heart of their own battlefield, one that sprawled across the terrain of their emotions and memories. The war, with its relentless barrage of noise and fury, became a mirror reflecting their inner turmoil, amplifying the echoes of the past that resonated within their hidden chamber of history. Shidit, armed with the knowledge of the room's legacy, recognized the need to confront the true source of their fears. It was not the displaced objects or the cold whispers of air that constituted their greatest terror, but the reality of living in a state of perpetual siege, where the boundary between life and death was as thin as the walls that shielded them from the outside world. In the safety of their home, amidst the remnants of lives once intertwined with their own, Shida and Dorsa faced the daunting task of reconciling with the impact of the war on their spirits. The hidden room, a testament to resilience in the face of oppression, became a sanctuary where they could openly acknowledge the depth of their scars, the wounds inflicted not by the unseen, but by the all-too-visible hand of human conflict. This confrontation was a silent revolution, a rebellion against the fear that had sought to define their existence. Shidit, with a resolve honed by the revelations of their investigation, guided Dorsa through this process of understanding. Together, they acknowledged the war's role as the architect of their nightmares, the creator of shadows that lurk not in corners, but in the reality of their daily survival. In facing this truth, they discovered a new form of courage or resilience that drew not from the denial of their fear, but from its acceptance. This was their act of defiance against the war's attempt to diminish their humanity, to reduce them to mere survivors rather than living, feeling beings. The confrontation within the confines of their home, against the backdrop of a city under siege, marked a turning point. Shida and Dorsa, bound by blood and shared adversity, found strength in their vulnerability. They emerged from this trial with a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to not only endure, but to reclaim their right to hope, to dream of a future beyond the immediacy of conflict. Their journey of confrontation was a testament to the power of facing one's fears, of recognizing the true enemy not as the phantoms of the mind, but as the realities of the world outside. It was a declaration that the real horror was not the unseen specters of the past, but the tangible, ongoing horror of the war, and its indelible impact on the living, on the hearts and souls of those who endured its ravages. In this moment of clarity and resolve, Shida and Dorsa stood together, united in their defiance against the shadows cast by war, ready to face whatever future lay beyond the ruins, armed with the knowledge that their greatest strength lay within each other, within the unbreakable bond of family and the enduring spirit of hope. In the aftermath of their profound confrontation with the truths that had besieged them, Shida and Dorsa reached a pivotal moment of resolve. The journey through the shadows of their fears and the unveiling of the echoes of strife embedded in their home culminated in a transformative decision. With renewed clarity and a deepened bond forged through their shared trials, they chose to chart a course towards a new beginning, turning their backs on the remnants of a past that, while haunting, no longer held dominion over their future. This resolution to move forward was not merely a physical departure from the confines of their apartment, laden as it was with the imprints of history and the scars of conflict. It was an existential leap, a commitment to embrace the resilience and strength that had been kindled within them. They recognized that their survival depended not just on navigating the tangible dangers that lay beyond their door, but on nurturing the flame of hope for a world at peace, a hope that had been tested but never extinguished. The decision to leave was a declaration of their intent to no longer be defined by the circumstances of war and the phantoms of loss. Instead, they sought to define themselves on their own terms, as agents of their destiny, empowered by the lessons of courage and the depth of understanding they had gained. They packed their belongings, not just the essentials for their physical journey, but the intangible assets of their experiences, the wisdom of their revelations, and the unshakable belief in the possibility of a future where the echoes of war would fade into silence. As they stepped out of their home for the last time, the weight of their decision pressed upon them, not as a burden, but as a mantle of determination. The city around them, with its scars and its steadfastness, reflected their own state of being, a testament to endurance and the capacity for renewal. Shida and Dorsa ventured into the uncertain landscape of their country, fortified by their shared resolve, and the knowledge that their quest for peace was a journey not just away from the specters of their past, but towards the promise of renewal and rebirth. Their resolution to seek a new beginning was an act of faith in themselves and in the future. It was an acknowledgement that, though the past may shape us, it does not bind us. We have the power to redefine our path, to build upon the ruins, not just a testament to survival, but a beacon of hope for all who walk in the shadows of adversity. Thus, as they moved forward, the legacy of their ordeal remained not as a chain, but as a compass, guiding them towards a horizon where the light of peace could finally dispel the darkness of war. In this act of leaving, of consciously choosing to step into the unknown armed with nothing but their indomitable spirit and the bonds of love that united them, Shida and Dorsa embodied the essence of resilience, the true heart of survival. Their journey was a message to the world that even in the face of the greatest darkness, the human spirit could find the light, could forge a path towards hope and healing in the aftermath of the storm. In the gentle embrace of dawn, a new chapter begins for Shida and Dorsa, far removed from the tumultuous shadows of Tehran. The place they now call home breathes with the promise of tranquility, a stark contrast to the beleaguered streets they left behind. Here, amidst a landscape that whispers of regeneration and growth, they plant the seeds of their new life, watered with the resilience and hope that carried them through their darkest times. Their journey to this haven was marked by both challenge and revelation, each step forward a testament to their unyielding spirit. The scars they carry, both seen and unseen, are not concealed, but honored reminders of the strength and perseverance that define them. These scars, rather than symbols of pain, are badges of survival, of the incredible journey they have undertaken from the depths of despair to the threshold of a new beginning. Shida finds solace and purpose in the community that welcomes them, sharing her story not as a narrative of victimhood, but as a beacon of survival and resilience. She volunteers, giving back to others who have faced their storms, her empathy and understanding a bridge to those still navigating their path to healing. In her eyes, there's a new light, one that speaks to the profound transformation within a shift from surviving to thriving. Dorsa, her resilience blossoming in this nurturing environment, embraces her new world with curiosity and joy. The memories of shadowed corners and whispered fears fade into the background, replaced by the laughter of new friendships and the discovery of places that spark her imagination and feed her soul. In her resilience, there's a wisdom beyond her years, a knowledge that happiness is not just to be found, but also to be created, crafted from the moments of connection and the simple pleasures that each day brings. Together, they build a home that is more than a shelter from the physical remnants of war. It is a sanctuary of healing and hope. Their home is adorned not just with photographs of the past, but with the art of possibility paintings that Dorsa creates, vibrant with color and life, and writings by Shida that chronicle their journey, weaving their experiences into narratives of empowerment. In this epilogue of their lives, the echoes of the past do not haunt, but rather inform their present, guiding them towards a future where happiness is not a distant dream, but a daily reality. They understand that while the past may shape the contours of their lives, it does not dictate the joy, love, and peace they can find and foster. Their story is one of transcending the remnants of war, of transforming the echoes of pain into symphonies of hope. As they stand together, looking out over the horizon of their new beginning, there's a sense of peace that envelops them, a profound understanding that though the journey has been arduous, the destination of happiness is not a place but a state of being, cultivated through love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between them.